This is your final assignment. I'm sure it's a stressful time of year for most of you as you wrap up a number of courses, and if you have your acceptance already, sometimes you're finding difficulty finding motivation. I think the beauty of this assignment is that you're done most of the work, and I will show you that in a second, how you're putting all of this together in one final product. So just before we get started, I'm showing you the template. I just want to give you some advice for your final project. And, oops, just bear with me here for a second. The main part of your paper and what really sticks with me is the results that you found in your primary research. So essentially, you're taking your literature review, you're taking your survey and your interview, and you're blending it all into a final product. And that's why I said that most of this project is already completed for you. So, but the crux is that you focus on these results, and we're linking it all together now. It's also very important not to just write this paper in terms of a research paper, but you're writing it in terms of a given social science and in challenge and change. And there's aspects that keep you focused on that. I'll show you that in a second. Each paragraph within the literature review, which you've already completed, is going to end with a reference. Okay, and you have to use, well, you have to put a reference, MLA, APA, Chicago style, whatever. But because you're using secondary sources in that part, you need to reference them properly. And then a final reminder, and this is where the English teacher of me still sticks around, you need to use formal writing. You need to write in a tone that is professional, that is academic. You avoid contractions, you avoid the first person, you avoid colloquial and slang phrases. All right, that's just where a proofread with someone who's really good at grammar and spelling is really important. I always find reading my work out loud really helps me to pick up on awkward sounding sentences and such. So here's the template, and of course when you write your, or you submit your final paper, you don't put template, because template means like the guideline that you follow. But what I would like is your name there, the course code, my name, and the day it is due, which is June 3rd. Then you're going to put your title of your project, the rise of autism and Asperger's in society, the challenge of a society with more social media. It doesn't have to be overly creative, but you can do so. So the report should be typed. I'd prefer it double-spaced. That was in the time of day when they used to submit papers face-to-face, not using an online Dropbox, but it doesn't really matter if it's double-spaced. But I prefer 12 font and Times New Roman font. And again, I don't mean to be that kind of teacher, but I just want to get you ready for some of the expectations that professors will have, and some of them were very, very, I can't think of the right word. They're very, very strict on some of these things. Now, in this paper, I actually want you to use subheadings. We got this idea for this assignment based on what you would do for a thesis proposal, essentially. So you're going to use subheadings like you would for a science lab back in your younger years. So the first title or subheading is abstract, and you're actually going to put abstract. And in brackets behind each of these subheadings is just a guide of the word count. Again, it's all about quality. It's not really about quantity here. And abstract's going to turn into one of your best friends as you move forward in your studies. An abstract is a short summary of your entire project. Here you'll briefly state what was researched, why it was researched, and what was found. Abstracts are used so that the reader can get a small taste of your project and decide whether or not reading the entire report would be a benefit. So next year when you're doing research, you will read abstracts of published journals to see whether or not the abstract fits what you're looking to research. Now you're going to repeat some of the things in your abstract in the introduction, and that's okay. So an abstract is like an introduction, but it also gives the reader a taste of what you found. I'm going to post some examples of abstracts later on on this course file. So that might be challenging, as many of you might not have written an abstract yet. But again, getting you ready for next year. Second subheading is an introduction, and this is a pretty long introduction. We have to move on from the idea of the one paragraph introduction that you might use in your English essays or your research essays. Introductions at this level now should start to evolve to 2 or 3 paragraphs, and these are the things that I think you should discuss. So why your topic is important. If there are any key aspects or issues of the topic, or there's certain terminology or sub-ideas that the reader needs to know, then you're going to take your topic and write about it from the perspective of one of the 3 social sciences. So if your topic is social media, you can choose anthropology and then talk how anthropologists would see the issue. Then we're going to actually break it down one more time. So within your social science that you write it in, we, at the first of the year, did the schools of thought. I want you to break down your topic that much more into using one of the schools of thought within your given social science. So that's functionalism, structuralism, neo-Marxism, inclusionism, and you're going to see how someone from that school of thought would see your issue. Okay. Now your literature review. And the beauty of your literature review is that you have it done already. Yeah, this was your first assignment back in late February, early March. So you have your 5 sources. Now what you're going to do from your literature review, and you can copy and paste this and maybe fix up any suggestions that I put on this original assignment back in March, and you can just put it right into your paper now. But you're only going to use the summary paragraphs of each of the 5 sources. So you had 5 sources, and if I remember correctly, you had 3 paragraphs for each of those 5 sources. But now you only need the first paragraph of those 5 pages, and you can copy and paste them right into this. Okay, so, and the only thing that you might need to do, unlike your literature review in the early part of the course, you're not going to put the whole bibliographic information at the top of the page. You're simply going to use an MLA or APA or footnote at the end of each paragraph. Okay, so I like this style where it's the author and the year before the last period of each paragraph. Now, if you use a direct quote, you also have to source it as well. So yes, you can copy and paste most, but the thing you may also need to do is add some transitional phrases in between each paragraph. So the first article by Yo-Yo Ma, published in the Toronto Star, suggests that social media, yada yada. Okay, and then another transitional phrase. Furthermore, it was added by Romeo Seinfeld that this happened. Okay, so some transitional phrases and terms, and I'll see if I can post. I used to have a list of transitional phrases that I used when I was in university. I always kept that nearby when I was writing papers. Yeah, it sounds kind of nerdy, but it was a strategy that worked for me. So it's probably going to be between 250 and 500 words. Okay, so the next part's methodology, and you've done a lot of this. Discuss your interview and survey, and describe why you did it and who you surveyed and such. Describe here, but don't criticize it here. Okay, and then again, this is from the first unit. Talk about how a positivist would research this topic, how a critical theorist would view this topic, and then how an interpretive. I would probably have a paragraph for each of those three. Now, what is this? Our fourth subheading, I suppose, is the primary research, and this is where I think the most important emphasis should come. So, this is you're going to discuss your your interview and survey results, and you're going to thoroughly analyze your results. You're not going to put charts or anything, and you can't just list your results. You can't just copy and paste, but you need to talk about your results in proper sentence and paragraph form. All right. At no point in any university level paper should one whole page not have a paragraph break. So you can talk about a few of the statistics that you had, and some of the quotes that your experts had, and again, this is the crux of your paper. And then finally, the conclusion. So you're going to answer your research question, which is essentially what impact your topic has had on society or is having on society, and the results or the implications your results may have on challenge and change. What challenges might lie ahead? Why will change be difficult? Is change beneficial or detrimental to society's well-being? And then finally discuss what future research needs to be done and why. Okay? I always find conclusions are the most difficult things to write, but hopefully there's enough ideas there that can get you started. And then you're going to have a works cited page that thoroughly articulate the 5 sources that you used in your annotated bibliography or literature review. Okay, you need to use those 5 sources. You don't need to find 5 new sources or anything like that. You already have that done. Okay, so here's the rubric of how I'll be marking it. And if you keep scrolling down, this here is a level 4 exemplar from last spring. So I caution you. So it's not a perfect paper, but I kept it because it is a level 4 paper. But the elements that these students had to do are a little bit different than what you have to do. There's a couple of different things, one of which you have to choose one social science, and you have to talk about a school of thought, and they wouldn't have had to last semester, so I apologize for that. So hopefully this will be a good foundation for you to start. This will take some time. However, like I said numerous times, almost an annoying number of times, the beauty of this assignment is that most of it is done already. Okay? So hopefully by the end you're going to have a nice polished product with minimal grammatical and spelling errors, linked to the social sciences, linked to the course, and this is something that you can be proud of, and hopefully it's something that prepares you for papers in the social science at the next level.